What is going on, Patriots Nation? This is Jace back with another edition of the Patriots Drive podcast. Today, I'm going to share 9 of my biggest winners from the 2024 NFL Combine. Guys I think the Patriots should target at one point in the draft, or guys that really I just saw impressed and maybe improve their draft stock, and the Patriots should look at taking them. So make sure you guys drop a comment down below what you guys think, who were some of your biggest risers, and who you would like the Patriots to target. And of course, like, subscribe, and comment. Turn that notification bell on so that whenever we go live, you can get notified. And let's get right into this video. Thank you to our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Underdog is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. With Underdog, you have a chance to 20 times your money in a single night. You just have to choose higher or lower for whatever player stats you want, and you have a chance to win big. Pick anywhere from 2 to 5 players by downloading their app or going to UnderdogFantasy.com. And now with their pick'em insurance, you don't even have to hit on all your picks to win the money. So what are you waiting for? Make sure you use code PATCHDRIVE today for your first deposit matched up to $100. Okay, everybody. So let's just jump right into this. NFL Combine just happened, 4 days from Thursday to Sunday, all different positions. Got a couple of confirmations of guys that I thought were going to test really well and did, and then a couple of guys that tested a lot better than I thought they would, and maybe, jumped from a second or third round guy to a late first round guy, or maybe even a day 3 guy to a day 2 guy. So want to go through a couple of those, and then, of course, let you guys share your opinion on maybe who you think jumped out to you and who stood out to you. So let's start with the offensive line position. I only have 2 here, but there were a lot of good guys. I thought Joel Alt tested exactly like I thought he would, so I did not include him. He's just a freak of nature, and he's massive, okay? The biggest winner for me at the offensive line position was Troy Fontenot, the offensive lineman out of the University of Washington. Okay, now coming into this, I thought he was a little bit undersized. I thought he was going to fit better at guard. Okay, he measured in at 6'4", 317 pounds, 34.5-inch arms. Now, you guys hear me talk about this a lot. Offensive tackles with under 33-inch arms usually are better at guard. We saw Jordan Morgan test really well, but he was a 32 and like 7/8-inch arm. So you wonder, is he going to slide into guard? Troy Fontenot is definitely long enough, and what I loved about him is he is definitely athletic enough. His movement skills in the drills, how he handled himself when he was kick stepping, and then how he tested. He ran a 5.01 He had a 32.5-inch vert and a 9'5" broad jump. Tested really well, showed good quickness on his feet. And it's a guy that you want if the Patriots are going to go to like a wide zone scheme. It's what you want your left tackle or right tackle to look like. Guys that can reach a 9 technique, guys that can get out on 6 techniques and get to linebackers, get out on corners. Very athletic. You saw him do a lot of counter pulls when he was at the University of Washington, and he had no problem getting around to the backers, no problem doing what he needed to. So I was very impressed with him. His raw athletic score, his RAS, which I'm going to refer to a lot. It was kind of down, but that's just because he measured in like 6'4" is not an ideal size for a tackle, but the 34.5-inch arm shows that he has elite length. He's just a little bit shorter. So I thought Troy Fontenot was a guy that maybe I wouldn't have drafted as the Patriots, just because I really did believe he was going to fit as a guard. But with those measurements and how I saw him move and the things that I saw, I think he could be a target at 34 and help, say we do take a quarterback at pick 3. Now you have a guy that's very athletic and could start at left tackle right away, and, maybe would be a steal at pick 34. So very impressed with Troy Fontenot out of the University of Washington. Another tackle that I wanted to kind of bring up is a guy that I don't think a lot of people really heard of, and that's not a bad thing. I just think that it's a guy that comes from a small school that maybe not a lot of people were paying attention to before the draft, but then because of how he did on Sunday when he tested and how he was, I think that he's probably a guy that's going to be a day 2 pick. So someone that stood out to me was Frank Crum out of the University of Wyoming. Now, I honestly don't know a lot of people that are watching a ton of Wyoming games. That's not a knock on the University of Wyoming. It's just, I really don't think that people pay attention to the group of 5 schools. So this is a guy that is probably going to be, in my mind, a 3rd round pick. He might be an early day 3 pick in the 4th round, but Frank Crum was 6'8", 315 pounds. He had 33 and 7/8 inch arms. Okay. He had a 4.94 40. That was the second best amongst offensive linemen, a 31.5 inch vertical and 9'6" broad. So another guy that's a little bit later in the draft. Say the Patriots want to double dip and take a second offensive tackle, or maybe they just target this guy late in the draft because they say, hey, this is great value and we can double dip at receiver or take a quarterback and maybe an edge defender, however they want to structure it. I think that Frank Crum is a guy that the Patriots should be looking at in day 3, late day 2, if he's still on the board, because at 6'8", he's a monster of a man. And if you guys have seen him on Run the 40, and if you saw him on Twitter, yeah, he's the guy with the big blonde mullet, beautiful hair. He would be fun to have on the Patriots. And I think that he's kind of an underrated guy that's creeping up draft boards on the offensive tackle side of the thing. So now I'm going to jump into a couple receivers. Now, these are 3 receivers that if the Patriots just came away with one of these guys, man, I would be so excited in the NFL draft. The first one I'm going to start off with is maybe my biggest winner of the 2024 NFL Combine. That's A.D. Mitchell out of the University of Texas, okay? If this guy's somehow available at pick 34, or if the Patriots trade up to get him in the late first-round pick, or with a late first-rounder, man, I would love this guy. He's a prototypical X receiver, 6'2", 205 pounds. He had a 4.34 40, which was the 3rd best in the Combine, a 39.5-inch vert, and 11'4" broad jump, which was the best broad jump amongst receivers. So he's in the 99th percentile of receivers that have tested at the Combine. He was just a freak of nature. He was really good at the University of Georgia, and then he transferred to the University of Texas. He has good body control, good getting off the line of scrimmage, good route runner. I think that this guy is a steal, but I just worry about someone like the Ravens or the Chiefs, or someone that has the luxury of taking a receiver late in the draft or late in the first round is going to snatch this guy up. No big deal. And maybe he goes in the teens, because that's how big of a deal it was that he tested at 6'2", 205 pounds, running a 4.34. That's incredible. That's faster than T. Higgins, and he was getting T. Higgins comp. So a lot of people were like, hey, this guy has the ball skills. He has the big frame. He has the catch radius of a guy like T. Higgins did coming out of Clemson. So, man, if A.D. Mitchell was somehow there for the Patriots at pick 34, that would probably be a dream pick for me. And especially if they take like Drake May or Jaden Daniels at pick 3 to pair him up with them. Woo, that's a young receiver that can grow with a young quarterback, and I'd really like that. So another receiver, and this is going to be, when I do a video later on, he's going to be tagged as a my guy. This is someone that I believe in. I've been high on him since the Senior Bowl. I think that he is just very underrated, but I think that he's creeping up and he could be a first-round pick. But this is another guy, if A.D. Mitchell's off the board, I'd be happy taking him at pick 34, and maybe some of you won't. I think Ladd McConkey solidified himself as one of the best receivers in this class. Okay, not obviously a top 5 guy, but a day 2 pick for Ladd McConkey, or an early second, would be very warranted in my mind. 5'11" and a half, 186 pounds. Not the biggest guy, but this guy's played outside and inside. He's a savvy route runner, one of the best in the class. I believe him and the guy I'm going to mention next are the 2 best route runners. But he ran a 4.39 40. I didn't think he was going to get low 4.4s. Okay, he quick. He has good change of direction, but 4.39 in the 40, that was very impressive. A 36-inch vertical and a 10'4" broad jump. This is just a guy that is always open for a quarterback. Now, yeah, he's a little bit undersized, but he's always open. There's like one catch in his highlight film, or even when you're watching film, and all of his catches, when you're watching film, there's like one catch where a guy's within like a yard or 2 of him. He just creates separation. He knows how to get open. He's just a guy that every NFL team will want because of how well he does everything. He's not going to wow you at a lot of things like an A.D. Mitchell would, or Marvin Harrison, Rome Odunze, but he just does a lot of things right. And some of you might think 34 is a little bit of a reach for him. I would take him at 34. I think he's better than John Mechie was a couple of years ago, and a lot of people wanted John Mechie for the Patriots. So I take Ladd McConkey there. Last receiver I'm going to throw up there. This is a guy that I just targeted in my last mock draft, but I traded up to him. He would be more of a mid to late second-round pick in my mind. 34 might be a little too rich, but say you want to trade down from 34 to like 45 or something, gain an extra top 100 pick, and then still take this guy. I would love it. I like I said, Ladd McConkey and Ricky Pearsall are the 2 that I believe are the best route runners in this class. Okay, Ricky Pearsall is a little bit bigger, 6'1", 189. Still ran a 4.4 140, 42-inch vertical, which was the third best amongst wide receivers, and he had a 10-foot 9-inch broad jump. He also ran the fastest L drill amongst receivers, 6.4, which last year, the really good one, Jackson Smith and Jigbo, was like a 6.53. So he's within 1/10 of a second there. And then he ran a 4.05 short shuttle, the 5.10.5. So good change of direction. Like I said, good route runner, a little bit older. He played at Arizona State with Jaden Daniels, then transferred to the University of Florida. He made the one catch this year where he's like over his head, and he makes a one-handed catch with his right hand. Yeah, he was a freak. A lot of people are giving him Julian Edelman comps. Okay, good route runner, very smart, very savvy, knows how to set up the defender, but he's also just tough. He's over the middle. He doesn't flinch when he has defenders running at him. He catches everything in his that's thrown to him. So that's a guy that I think would be very intriguing. And so any of those three receivers, if the Patriots would somehow come away with one of them, I'd be stoked. I think that both those guys, or all three of those guys, are very, very good receivers and are going to have good long careers. So let's move on to one more pass catcher, and then I'll throw in a little bit of defensive players, because I do think at some point the Patriots will target a defender, maybe late day 2, early day 3. They still have a little bit of holes, and they just need talent at a lot of positions. But the last offensive guy is a player that tested the second best amongst all players in the combine at his position since like 1979. And that's tight end Theo Johnson. Okay, guys. Dalton Schultz was a rumor for the Patriots. They wanted to target him. He just signed a 3-year deal with the Houston Texans to go back there. So there's going to be a need for the Patriots to either bring Hunter Henry or Mike Gesicki back, or sign a guy, plus draft someone. And I thought Theo Johnson measured and tested incredible. Okay. 6'6", 259 pounds, 4.57 40, which is the second best amongst tight ends, 39.5-inch vertical, which was the first best, and that 10'5" broad jump, which was the best amongst tight ends. He also ran a 7.15 L cone and then a 4.19 shuttle. Big, long, good at pass blocking, very athletic. This is the type of tight end that you want to have and want to develop. And if you bring in a veteran like Hunter Henry, sign him for 1 or 2 more years, you don't have to shovel out too much money, but you develop a guy like Theo Johnson in there. He doesn't have to come in right away and start. Now, if he can and he shows that he's good enough, go ahead, let him, But in 12 personnel stuff, he'd be able to be in with Hunter Henry or whoever you bring in as a veteran, but then he'd also be able to spread out. He has that quickness. He has the route running ability to do that. So I think Theo Johnson as a tight end, maybe in the 4th round, 5th round, depending on if he's still there, would be an incredible target for this rookie quarterback or whoever you bring in at the quarterback position, and bring in a dynamic to the offense. So let's move to the defensive side, and then I have a little surprise one for my 9th person. So defensively, there's only 2 guys. Well, there was more, okay, but there's 2 guys that really stood out to me, and that's Peyton Wilson, NC State linebacker. He's dealt with a couple ACL injuries and stuff in his career, but he passed all of his medicals. He was 6'4", 233 pounds. He ran the fastest 40 amongst linebackers, which was a 4.43. He jumped 34.5 inches for his vertical, and then 9 feet 11 for his broad. You see on film, he's constantly chasing down receivers. There's a couple plays where he's chasing down receivers in the open field. You're like, that's something a 6'4", 230-pound linebacker should not be able to do, but he does. The biggest question was his medicals, and he passed them, and he tested very well. So this is probably a guy that's going to be gone before the Patriots are ever able to take him and have the luxury, because they don't need a linebacker right now. I think he's probably a 2nd-round pick in my mind. He definitely launched himself up there, and he has a chance to be a 2nd-round pick. So it's just a guy that I thought tested well, and maybe see the Patriots want to take a guy like that because he's still big enough to play in the box, but he's fast enough and athletic enough to do some of the things the Patriots want guys like Marte Mapu and Jabril Peppers to do. He's just a little bit bigger than those guys. So really liked Peyton Wilson. Last defensive guy is a cornerback. Now, I think the Patriots might want to target a cornerback because of the release of J.C. Jackson. Now, they still have Marcus Jones, they have Christian Gonzalez and Jonathan Jones. But whether you want to move Jonathan Jones inside or bring in another slot corner, depending on what happens with Miles Bryant, I think Max Melton out of the University of Rutgers is a great option to bring in. He's more of a slot corner. Okay, 5'11", 187. He ran a 4.39 40. He had a 40.5-inch vertical, which was the 4th best, and then an 11.4 broad jump, which was the best amongst cornerbacks. So again, bring in a little smaller guy, someone that's going to be able to play as your fourth corner, but he's probably going to have a pretty good size role because of how much you want to play with either three safeties or four corners, just how the NFL's going. And especially with the release of JC Jackson, unless they bring him back. Now, this is dependent on there, but I think Max Melton would be a fourth, fifth round target for the Patriots that tested well and has the opportunity to come in, and there's a role needed for him, both on special teams and on defense, just because of the lack of depth that they have there. So, last one for me might not be the most popular one just because of what New England fans and Patriots fans want them to do at pick 3. But I think Michael Penix Jr. was the biggest riser for quarterbacks. A lot of people were saying JJ McCarthy, but everyone that checked out Michael Penix said that he passed his physicals. There was nothing wrong with him. Medicals look good. And with no Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Caleb Williams throwing at the combine, Michael Penix stole the show. Okay, he was one of the most accurate guys out there. You could just see the zip coming off of it. When he threw the ball, it looked like it was coming out of a cannon. He has a good arm. The big thing here is that he passed medicals. Now, I think a lot of people already assume that JJ McCarthy is quarterback 4, how the NFL views him. You don't know who quarterback 5 is between Bo Nix and Michael Penix, but Michael Penix has a chance to get taken late in the first round just because a team might want the 5th-year option. But if somehow New England knows that he's going to be there at 34, it's very enticing for me to say, hey, take Marvin Harrison Jr. because of how good and how safe I think of a pick he is, and then take a chance on Michael Penix because you already know you want to sign a bridge quarterback. You want to take like a Jacoby Brissett. It's a lot easier to play a Jacoby Brissett for a whole year if you take a second-round pick in Michael Penix than if you have like a Jaden Daniels, who fans and a lot of people are going to be saying should start right away, which might be the case. But if they do want to bring in a bridge quarterback, Michael Penix has cleared physicals. They say he's good. And maybe you do trade up at pick 31 or 32 like Baltimore did a couple of years ago to get that 5th-year option on a guy like Michael Penix. But the big thing for me, he cleared his physicals and medicals. And he took advantage of the big 3 quarterbacks not throwing. He was the most accurate guy out there, and it just looked effortless to him. So, again, guys, make sure you let me know down below your thoughts on any of these players, who you would like the Patriots to draft, who you think that who you think in the combine improve their draft stock and could be a target for the Patriots. Then, of course, like, subscribe, and comment so that you guys can stay up to date, because we have a lot more draft content coming out. We have more live streams with different Patriots fans and pages. And then, of course, we're going to be doing a listener mock draft so you guys can kind of have a say in how we do it and stuff. But appreciate all the support. And until next time, we will talk to you later.